Hey everybody, welcome to Fierce Fabulous Fridays. Today's edition is called Perseverance and Future Planning. So Kelly is going to take the lead on this, but something that I wanted to mention is that this is a women's group, and especially if you're in the United States, there's a significance beyond just the current battle for the Supreme Court of the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Until Bader Ginsburg, women couldn't get credit cards by themselves. They couldn't get loans by themselves. Their husband had to co-sign everything, which, leaves people like me in a little conundrum since I will never have a husband. What was I supposed to do? So everything that's going on in the United States right now is a shitstorm to say the least. But regardless of your political affiliations, I would like us to have a moment to honor Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Thank you, everybody, so much for indulging me. Kelly, the reason, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I know you didn't know I was going to do that,
I
but
love that you did that.
I couldn't talk about perseverance and future planning without thinking about that amazing woman, let alone that she is the first woman to ever lie in state in the United States Capitol. She broke barriers, and she did that by persevering, never taking no for an answer, finding a way to get it done. And I just thought it was a really perfect juxtaposition of this presentation. So without further ado, Kelly, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we will co-host. So everybody, Kelly Malazzi from successinprint.net. Girl number 2, my right hand on everything at Girls Who Print, and certainly sales coach to the stars. So thank you so much, Kelly.
Thanks, Deb. Thanks, everybody. It's really great to be here, and I'm really glad you did that lovely moment for the notorious RBG. So, I do think this is a really interesting, as you mentioned, juxtapositions, the idea of perseverance right? So perseverance, and when I was doing some research for this, I was thinking about all the different words that kind of, what does perseverance actually mean? Is it determination? Is it like a fierce drive? And so I did just pull up the actual definition of perseverance, just so we have a little bit of a frame of reference about what we're talking about today. So perseverance is steadfastness in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. So what a perfect word you chose, Deb, because, we could have used words like courage, or we could have used adversity or things like that. But when you really think about the kind of the conditions that we're in and the conditions of the world, it really is just a fantastic place to start. Because the truth of the matter is, nobody's really doing great right now. There's still this notion, everyone I talk to is still feeling, somewhat hesitant, questioning things, confused, afraid, all of these things. And so it's all of that adversity that we're dealing with on a regular basis. And so I started, again, I love to do research when I think about a particular topic. Some of you may have been at the discussion that I did at the end of August about authenticity and abundance. And if you haven't, please go back and listen to that one. But I like to come up with some quotes from some, famous people, because really when you talk about and think about perseverance, it really does actually require courage. We really do have to look our situation straight in the face and say, this sucks. This is hard. I'm confused. I'm afraid. And so then you stand at this precipice, or at this juncture, or at this fork in the road, and you decide, or, and some of us have been standing at that fork for the last 6 months, still kind of trying to decide where to go, what to do, who to talk to, what to say, all of it. And the courage that we muster in this particular situation is really more of a character trait. That's something that you can access. You can figure out a way to be brave. You can figure out a way to decide, even amongst or in the middle of a challenging situation, that you're going to be courage. And I love this, that you're going to be courageous, excuse me. And I like this quote from Teddy Roosevelt, that, you know, it's not having the strength to go on, it's going on when you don't have the strength. Because as all of you out there know, you get to 3 o'clock and you're like, is it really not over yet? Do I really have what it takes to figure out where my food is coming from? A lot of people I've talked to lately have been talking about decision fatigue. Where are my kids going to school? Where am I grocery shopping? Am I going to go to my niece's graduation? What's Thanksgiving going to look like? And we're all just like weary in our bones. But again, we decide like onward. Even if your decision right now is just, I just have to get through today. That's a pretty okay place to be, because at least you're deciding to be present in today and to decide to, you know, that you're going to figure it out. And then Monday you'll figure out Monday, or maybe Sunday night you'll figure out Monday.
Kels,
Yeah.
there's a small enough group in here that I believe we can ask everyone to turn on their cameras and microphones and have an open conversation.
I would love that.
Yeah, I know that that's what you prefer. So everybody, please, you know, join in. And also, so I want to kind of tack on to this, because what's interesting about this unique moment in time is that, and it's not necessarily a word I use all the time, but faith has a big role to play here. I'm persevering into an unknown. I'm persevering with the faith that the next hour or the next day or the next month is going to be better than where I am right now. And I give myself that courage to move on. But the difference now is that my goal is just making it to tomorrow, you know? And so it has changed so much from a, you know, usually you hear these words in relationship to goals and planning and things like that. And for me now, these words are how I get through each day, and what comes at me each day, to your point, is a myriad of different things. Some are opportunities, some's bad news, you know, some is a door that opened that I can't believe opened, but that person happens to be home and they're talking to people on LinkedIn, and I never would have spoken to them had we not been in this situation. So what does everybody feel about that? How do you have courage to carry on? Like, for example, Emily's looking for a job when every day, if you watch the news, it's not such great news about the job market, but you're persevering. You have the courage not to give up and say, well, I'm not going to get a job, right? So how is everybody facing their days these days, I guess, right, Kelly? That's the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Open conversation.
I think faith is the operative word there, because our organization is not up to 100%, and I'm in sales, so we have meetings every Monday and we talk about where we are and how far we are from where we need to be. And you know, that's very disheartening, and it can really drag you down. But you know, I just make my calls every day, and you know, and then I hear from people out of the blue that haven't ordered anything in a while. So, you know, that's just the day to day. And my son's a senior this year, and he's doing school from home. And I just happen to be in the office today, but I'm typically at home. So yeah, faith is a huge thing.
Well, and you know, the other thing about this too is this is really a choice. To decide to be courageous is a choice. To take, and that's why I like this thing that perseverance is a course of action, because it implies movement. It implies, you know, a choice. And even, you know, as Benjamin Disraeli said, you know, it's, well, many people making a success out of something that seemed like it was going to be a failure. Everybody can access a story of somebody in history that they read about that did just that. But I was actually thinking this morning that if I was going to write my memoirs today, it just kind of came to me that like my autobiography would be titled, I Love Everything. And then the subtitle would be, Because I Don't Have a Choice.
Oh
Like
my
you
God,
have to,
mine would literally be, I hate everything and
right,
everybody.
right. Because that's really the irony of it, right? Is that I
Yeah.
really,
But
I
it's the
have
truth.
to,
I'm telling the truth. I hate everybody. I have to control myself not to rage on people. I hate everybody, I've decided, except the people in this webinar, of course.
yes,
Well, I'll
yes.
chime in here and say, for women, for men, for children in this day and age, everyone is displaying their courage every morning that they wake up, not knowing what the day is going to bring. And, I think, we're 200,000 people in the United States that have died from this, pandemic. And we see on the news the issues with the schools opening and closing and online and offline. And I have 2 young grandchildren in daycare, and the news now about the kids that have gone back to school and getting sick and now infecting, and now the quarantine is back, and then you have the colleges. And it's tough to listen to the news with that, but you have to understand and know what's going on in your world and in your community. And how do you persevere with business in the middle of all this? But you do.
Yeah, it's a really great point, Christine Erna, because I am very careful about certain things I say to people I know who have children, unless I fully know what their plan was and if their kids are in school or if they're at home, or I'm not going to have conversations that are inappropriate because they can't do stuff. We were planning the Girls Who Print Day, and I literally let Kelly opt into what she could opt into, even on Girls Who Print Day, because that is the priority. And
Of course,
anybody who
yes.
does not understand that is in a very bad place to have conversations with people. If you just think
they're still in their bubble and haven't come out of their
100%. I feel that deferring to parents right now is a very important part of relationship maintaining and building. I'm just saying, most of the time that's what I'm coming up upon. Somebody can schedule a Zoom meeting, that's one thing, but if their kids are running around the background, that's the way it is.
Exactly.
Deal with it, move on.
And
Don't
Kara,
mention it.
I
It's
applaud,
totally fine with you. And
I
keep
applaud
it
Kara,
moving.
with her senior. Fortunately, he's a senior and
Right.
has some intelligence and being able to take care of himself and do what he needs to do. I don't know if anyone else, I know obviously Kelly has a pack
2
running
sets
around
of
there.
twins in the Hell House.
Yes.
I use Kelly as the example when everyone's complaining. I'm like, Kelly has 2 sets of twins and they're all in different classes. And end scene.
But that's actually,
no.
you know what?
That's literally, I'm not going to do it because this was really expensive, but it's the mic drop.
Everybody who's
It's
not
the
on
mic
camera,
drop.
Oh, you're going to drop your mic.
everyone who's not on camera, if you want to, today we're having an open conversation. So you, Tracy, Jen, Judith, and Justine, if you guys want to join us, that's great.
But, and, talking about perseverance and also, again, that intersection of the perseverance along with the authenticity. I mean, my sons actually are in the same class this year because I think they decided to put them, they kept the cohort a little bit smaller. But, the Zoom meeting last night for back to school night, the teacher who's been teaching for 28 years was literally crying, telling us about how they can't talk, they can't read together at a table and she can't hug them. And, they're in 2nd grade. And so it really was like a really lovely, beautiful moment. But she still, as Christine and Kara said, they get up every morning, they go to school. These teachers are working. And my kids only go to school 2 days a week, but they're doing the work. They're, and it really is like it through it all. I mean, it really does give us an opportunity to, it sounds a little hokey and schmoopy, but like to shine. We're still
Yeah.
trying. We're like clawing our way through
Right,
this,
but
you know?
this is the point though. If we're still here to talk about making sales and prospecting and doing things that we need to do to keep our businesses and our money coming in too, and understanding that Kelly has kids, 4 kids in school 2 days a week. That means the other 3 days they're in her house. That means there might be limited time you can get in touch with her. So we all need to take these things into consideration as we move forward and really embrace the fact that our world ends right within our little 2 foot range of orbit, and then everybody else's world is where it comes in, and you cannot make assumptions that we used to do. So what is the next slide here so we can move?
So yeah, I mean, it's just a, you know, again, I love to do research and kind of read the best and the brightest about what, you know, professionals, the guys with the PhDs, the women who are leading companies, and talking about what are some things that we can actually do. So these are, you know, these are kind of action items as far as being able to access that perseverance and put it into practice. And some of that is, I mean, some of these things may seem like they're a little bit easier said than done, but you know, there always is that idea of abundance versus scarcity. You know, when we believe that there is, you know, something out there for us, then we, you know, we kind of tamp the fear down and we just say, but what if it works? You know, what if I succeed? And you kind of move forward. And, you know, growth mindset, again, is one of those buzzwords right now that we're talking about all the time, which is the opposite of a growth mindset is a fixed mindset. And fixed mindset believes that everything is just the way it is and there's nothing I can do to change it. Whereas a growth mindset says, what if I went and talked to my boss about, you know, setting up virtual demos? Or what if I did start recording those videos? Or what if I did cultivate a whole bunch of different content providers that provide me with great stuff I can share with my clients and prospects? So that's the kind of, again, these are choices that we're making. And maybe even some things taking risks. You know, I've had plenty of conversations that start with, this might sound crazy, but, and every time I'm met with that, okay, you know, I think I'm just putting it all, I'm kind of letting it all hang out, you know, and
Yeah.
I have some lovely new customers. I've been very grateful that I've cultivated a whole bunch of new customers lately, and I'm having such an interesting experience, you know, with them. And I'm not sure when the exact right place is to talk about some of those kind of specific situations, but I'll just kind of take a moment to explain, you know, kind of the
Wait,
rest
I
of
need to know if
this.
there's a water shortage by Jessica. What, you're drinking out of like a Deer Park water bottle from a like a water dispenser. That's the biggest water bottle
It's
I've ever seen in my life.
it's a gallon.
Nice.
We're starting 75 hard. I don't know if you heard of it, Kelly, on October
No.
1st. And you have to drink a gallon of water every day. And so I'm warming myself up to the gallon of water.
Wow, good for
A
you.
gallon of
Congratulations.
water.
Great.
That's amazing. I bet
That's
you're gonna feel, I
You
bet you're
can't be
gonna
upset
feel
about anything
amazing.
else.
Yeah.
her
Your
bladder's
skin
gonna get
is,
some growth
your skin
mindset
is
here.
gonna be phenomenal. I bet you. That's amazing.
Maybe we can you know, find out if some people have been, you know, looking at things with the growth mindset and taking risks. Like who's been doing anything like that?
Good question.
Um, so that 75 hard that I just mentioned is something that my husband and and he works for HP, so he's still in the industry too, but it's a mental fitness challenge. And if you look into it, it's quite terrifying, but you know, apparently we're supposed to do things that scare us. And so it's 75 days of reading pages a day, book, 2 45-minute workouts a day. One of them has to be outside. Drink a gallon of water. Stick to a diet. Doesn't diet agnostic, but there's no cheat days and no cheat meals, and everything goes on for 75 days. And because it's no like you day, it's going to be really hard, and it's a challenging thing mentally. And so when he's getting ready to possibly start a new role, so he wants to kind of jump into something hard, growth mindset wise. We have all these books and, you know, we're trying to gear up for it. So I jump in 2 feet first.
Excellent.
Congratulations.
During one of the
That's amazing.
75 days, please upgrade your Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah.
That's hard to do nowadays.
Oh.
Is it,
All
Trace?
right.
You know, I was having issues yesterday, which largely I've been lucky throughout the work from home, and my Wi-Fi has been pretty stable, and was having issues yesterday, and they said they could come out October 5th. So it was one of those things, clearly, you know, hanging out at Starbucks and using their Wi-Fi isn't encouraged. All of the business centers that nearby me are clearly not open. So, you know, it magically just reappeared and worked. You know, I like to think it was me rebooting and restarting the modem 15,000 times.
It was totally you. Your tech support.
I know. They always say that when you call. Did you restart? Is everything plugged in? Is everything unplugged? And sometimes I like to be like, oh, it has to be on. Like, clearly I did all of those things. Luckily it worked, but I have found that, I think Justine can probably speak to this as well. If you need any sort of Wi-Fi trying to get upgrades nowadays, it's like, you know, trying to get an appointment at the DMV within the same fiscal year. Like, good luck.
Where do you live, Trace?
Los Angeles.
LA. So this is talk about crazy ideas. I literally, there's not a presentation I don't do that I'm like, so here's the crazy idea time. I also host Print Chat on every Wednesday, which is always about crazy ideas. And you just reminded me of a crazy idea we actually had. I think it was Kelly who had the idea. Maybe you could get this going. Hotels are going under. What if they already have Wi-Fi. What if they could rent the rooms like a WeWork thing? So you could go to the hotel and have room 305 for the day, for the week, for whatever, you know, and things like that, and turn it into a marketing and sales opportunity, because the hotels, the domino has started to fall.
The Palmer House.
The Palmer House, well,
a new reason for hourly.
That's a whole other story. But it's still, it's an American landmark, and it's going to be become a condominium. So, but the Hiltons in, I mean, these aren't little baby hotels. The Hilton in Times Square is shut down. There's a deluxe hotel on Rodeo Drive. Like, these are hotels that have been there for a long time, but they spent too much money on whatever they spent, and no one was liquid. Anyhow, that was a crazy idea we had. So just based upon your experience, think about all the people that are currently undergoing that. And can you take a risk with the growth mindset, defeat fear, knock on some doors at hotels and say, I've got crazy ideas while you have no occupancy about stuff we can do here to help the people who are displaced from Starbucks, who are displaced from WeWork, who are displaced from anywhere where they may feel a corona situation is potential.
I mean, for that matter, they could become, well, this is a really crazy idea, but they could become quarantining places. Oh, your husband's got the Rona, send him to the hotel for 2 weeks while you know, to keep him away from the rest of your family. But I did want to talk a little bit about just one very small example. A friend of mine, you know, married, 2 kids, lost his job in IT with a hotel chain. This was a few months ago. He started his own IT consulting practice, saying to the families, hey, do you need some help upgrading your Wi-Fi? He's installing meshes. He's because my husband's in IT. So we have these like little satellites all over the house now to make sure that hopefully my Wi-Fi stays solid. Because I do have 6 children distance learning here on Mondays and Tuesdays because my nieces are here too. But here's a guy who just said, well, look, I'm just gonna have to go with plan B. And he's doing really well with this IT consulting company. So I think that's a really good example of somebody who just decided, to access something different. And Jessica, the idea of just movement at a very minimum is a really great thing. they do talk about this as being very connected to your mental toughness is, and I thought about this when I spent a week in Pennsylvania out in the middle of nowhere at a lake and said, how can I bring this peace home with me back to everything else I'm dealing with? And it was just get out and walk every day. I'm not running anymore, but get out and walk.
And
And
They say the fastest way to change your mind is to move your body.
yeah.
Mhm.
you've been a champion of that since day one, Jessica.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next slide, Kels.
Okay, so that was just this is kind of the nice pivot between, so I think we've got a good handle on perseverance and what that means, but then let's put it into practice as far as what the future is going to hold for us as business owners and as people who, Kara, if you're in sales, many salespeople look at their sales practice as their business. It's like, these are my customers, this is my business. So, again, talking about and thinking about focus, and this is something too that I think a lot of people, for whatever reason, don't do in terms of setting goals. It's a little late in the year for this now, but what I like to say to my customers early on in the process is, I want you to imagine that it's December 31st and you turn to either a boss or a colleague or a coworker or a partner or somebody and say, I had a really good year. And then just start to describe what things needed to happen in order for you. Now, this is a ridiculous conversation to be having right now because the virus has thrown all of that out of whack, but it still bears a discussion. You still have 3 months of this year left to say, like, what needs to happen. You can't say that your goal or what you wanted and the definition of your success for 2020 is the same as it was January 17th. But you could redefine it. You could say, if I can make these things happen, or I can, again, it's changing the goalpost, it's changing the horizon a little bit, but it's still saying, I do know what I want to happen. It needs to be realistic, a bit of a stretch, but still something that, because you still do want to have that conversation to say, all things considered, everything that happened, I want to be able to reflect on positive things that happened. I want to say, we still managed to get a nice little silly lake vacation in. I did this writing, I did these video, you still want to be able to say that there were things that you accomplished and be able to define how you measure those. Because that's one thing that I think is missing for a lot of people is a metric. How do you measure? And so that is with sales, we talk about growing an account, we talk about getting a new account, we talk about resurrecting an account. I am kind of astonished every time I talk to people, and those are not things that are on their radar screen. I just said to these customers the other day, I said, I would want to be reaching out to every single person who has ordered from you in the last 18 months with just a hand-picked, cherry-picked article that would be relevant to them, just to say, I'm just thinking about you, that kind of thing. And they're like, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. But I've described this time since March as feeling like we're on quicksand. Deb and I talk about this all the time, that like, it's hard to plan for the future when you don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. Or, I might be able to give you some advice today, and I might say something completely different a month from now, or it might have been different than what I said in April. So being able to kind of reassess and change what you're thinking. But this fourth point, I think we could probably talk about for an entire day. And those of us that are in the business of serving others, those of us that are in the business of wanting to provide a product or a service to someone else, we should be obsessively thinking about them and what they need and what their future holds, what problems they are experiencing or are about to experience or have just experienced, and what do you have in your arsenal of crazy ideas or amazing solutions or products that can help them. And we'll talk about that a little bit, but I want to be quiet now for a bit and let you all kind of chew on some of this.
So I just wanted, can you all hear me? Okay,
Yes.
good. I just kind of wanted to say, I think as women, and so I'm not in sales, but I'm actually currently unemployed and trying to get into sales. So when I saw this webinar pop up, I was like, So that's perfect. And I think as women, we really have an opportunity to tap into that empathy and really start conversations where, you know, you're going through it too, your customer's going through it too, and you can kind of build a relationship that way. So again, it's a choice to look at it that way. But I think that everything that's gone on in the world this year, if you choose to look at it the right way and like code it with a positive light, you know, we'll get through it, and it'd be better to get through it stronger, right? You know, so I'm also, Jessica, moving my body a lot to get through these days.
I just want to compliment Emily on the job search. I know it's very, very tough out there. I've got some friends in the same situation, and the perseverance part is so critical. And also open up your opportunities to sometimes move laterally to be able to get where you're going forward. I have a friend in the direct mail business, excuse me, been unemployed for too long and decided to take a job with a temp agency and got into working at Amazon. You know, it is a lateral move, but she's still kind of in the shipping industry, and that experience will only enhance her if she decides to come back this way, or as we know, Amazon has many opportunities, and with her talents, if she decides to stay there, again, many opportunities.
That's such a great point. And it's come up a few times in the Girls Who Print podcast when we talk to people about employment. And Vanessa Carr, known as V from Domtar, said one of the best things, which is that it's not necessarily a career ladder, it's a career lattice. And sometimes you have to go in different directions to get up to the top. And also, it came up from Suchi Sarkar. You should just go find her webinars, because you just be like, oh my God, what the hell? She's amazing. She said that if you can't get the job you want, get a job that helps you develop the skills for the next job that you want. And keep thinking of your moves that way. If I need to get from here and lattice over here to pick up a skill that I don't have to actually move up here, then I can come back and do it. But if I'm just trying to go up, I might actually miss out on things, or opportunities might not be available to me. So I really like the reassess thing, especially now. And I think that was a great example, Christine. So thank you for sparking that memory.
Pleasure.
Anyone else?
Well, Emily, what you said about empathy is so true. Some of the most successful people that are navigating the pandemic are women, because they absolutely are willing to just. One of my customers was doing nothing but having either coffee dates or wine dates with her clients. She would make herself available to them anytime, and she was specifically reaching out to the ones that were single, because she's like, they're alone. And I want them to know that they don't, you know, and I thought that was just so lovely.
Can I get on that list?
And she's, and her boss told me, he's like, I don't know what you did to her, but 2 months later, she's head and shoulders above everybody else. I'm like, well, first of all, I didn't do anything, but she has the best attitude. She has the, you know, she was like, you know, not going to let it happen. And this other customer, same thing. These people, this whole team has access to me. And you know, 3 of the 5 of them have refused, flat out refused to even make an appointment with me. And the other, and the one woman on the team was like, wrote me and actually said, like, I don't know if I'm even supposed to be doing this, because I don't know if I'm worth your time. And I just said, you're the only one your boss is talking about. He's the one that says that he has high hopes for you and has a lot of expectations for you. And, you know, I realize this is being recorded and I'm maybe, you know, telling some secrets, but honestly, like, I just feel like this is not the time to necessarily be humble, but it's definitely the time to be empathetic and to to remember that, and Deb taught me this, like an engagement and interaction for the sake of teaching someone something, educating someone about something, and doesn't end with, and I'm here to, do this for you. It
And
is
I can help
simply
you with that.
right. It is just simply, I thought you would find this interesting. Full stop.
Just to kind of turn this around in a different way. I've been reassessing how myself asking people, how's it going? Because some of those answers go on for 3 hours and you have to be willing to be in it if you're going to ask somebody how's it going, and it can't just be like we typically do, like, hey, how you doing? And you answer, hey, how you doing? And we've kind of lost the answer to that in general, except when Corona started. When you said to someone, hey, how you doing? Well, actually, and all of a sudden you are. But now I think it's moved into a different state of panic, and sometimes asking people how they're doing or how it's going and stuff like that, if you don't really know what the answer is, could be a really difficult situation to navigate. In other words, why are you calling me when we just let go of 6 people in this company? So really measuring the moment in time, assessing if this is the right outreach, what the outreach it is at appropriate at that moment, even if it's, I just heard you let a bunch of people go. I'm really sorry that you're going through that. If there's anything I could do to help you, just let me know, and things like that, to the point of I'm just having coffee and wine with people, is what everybody will remember when, and I'm going to, use that faith thing, when business resumes in some fashion that we can recognize it. And that's as close to the word normal you're ever going to hear from me, because I refuse to say it. What else, Kels?
Well, one thing I was going to say about that too is maybe it's not semantic, but maybe it's just asking a different question. Instead of how's it going, maybe it's have you discovered anything new, since, because I joke that, like, my family's been to 7 state parks we've never heard of before. We're doing things a little bit differently. We're getting outside a lot more.
I discovered Wickles pickles. Does
Oh,
anyone
that's
know
right.
Wickles pickles? Oh my God, I'm obsessed with Wickles pickles.
I'm writing it down. Wickles
pickles. I don't know.
Right.
I'm obsessed with Wickles.
Wickles.
Wickles pickles.
Well, and it's
discovered
either Brene Brown or Glennon Doyle Melton apparently did talk about the whole "how are you doing," and apparently it's supposed to, one of the, Brene Brown or Glennon Doyle Melton, one of those, like, they're these famous, like, writers who are all in the universe these days. But
Okay, I have no idea who these people are.
okay, so you could check those 2 out. But because my one of my best friends was over the other day, and she said, how you doing? I'm like, I'm good. She's like, are you though? Like, are you really? And because, that's that knee jerk we have to just be like, fine. I'm like, and I looked at her and I kind of stopped and I went, actually, I am. I'm actually okay today. But it was really lovely that she took, and again, she's one of my best friends, but that she actually was like, are ya? So anyway, that I thought was, which I guess kind of dials into the next, question everything, which really, again, it's an overused phrase, but it really, I do find so often when I'm talking to companies about, asking them questions about how they're getting something done or again, why they do it. It's like, because that's the way we've always done it. And that should be the enemy of all that is good in the world.
I mean,
is we've always done it.
Is anybody honestly saying that now after 8 months of being in a pandemic? People are saying that's the way we do things around here?
I don't know that they say that, but they're still definitely in those bad habits. And this is it's not even a pet peeve. It's really a structural issue, is that there are so many printing companies out there that have salespeople that have just completely, like, it's like they're captured in that amber, like a dinosaur, and they won't do anything about it.
Frozen
Yeah.
in time.
They're just, yes, and they just will not do anything about it. They're in, you know, and I feel like I'm the last person in the world who should be like, you should fire that guy. But I talk more about, you know, a lot of people are such good people. They feel so guilty and they don't want to do something unkind, but this is your business. Like, this is the time, you know, this is where it really makes sense to question everything and ask yourself, do I have the right people doing the right things right now? And you have that voice, you have that little guy sitting on your shoulder that's telling you something, and they've been telling it to you for years and you've been ignoring it. Now is the time to listen to that voice that's telling you it's time to make a change. It's time to do something different. And that kind of dials very nicely into the hiring, which is, what is the world going to look like in 2025? And am I putting people in and on my team and around my team that get it, you know, that are, I mean, because I continually, and Deb, this is another something I learned from you, there are 2 full generations of people in the workforce younger than my generation. That means something very different. And I got real tired of millennial bashing a long time ago. These are people in the prime of their careers with C in front of their name.
They're 39 years old.
Empowered.
I'm like,
Yes.
they're not kids. Stop.
They're not
They're
kids.
freaking have $100 million print budgets. Get on
Yes.
board with the way they think and get over yourselves.
And even, you
I hate
know,
those old
we
people.
have some stuff going on in our town with a movement to rehaul the curriculum at the high school level. And this is led by 2 young women who are graduates of our high school, one of whom now holds a degree from Harvard University, and one of whom has a degree from Penn. And there are elements in my town who are like, who are these brats? You know, and it's like, these are 22-year-old women, right, who have degrees from some of the finest institutions in this country, who are saying what people have been saying, needing to say for a long time. And you owe them the respect and the attention to listen to what they have to say. They've done a study, they've conducted research, and I could be their mother easily. But that's the point. She could be a customer of mine tomorrow. They are not kids. They are,
And they're not
adults who
playing with
deserve
their
respect.
beliefs. Thank God.
Exactly.
They will, the younger end of the millennials and the Gen Zers will make the world a good place if we just get out of the way and let them have the opportunity. I'm not sure everybody here actually hires people, Kelly. So
Right.
maybe let's get it out of a print shop owner thing and into a
But you're still a part of an organization, and those are conversations that can be having. You know, I like to have conversations like, you know what would be great? Or you know what we really need around here? Or again, the anecdotal. And sometimes the anecdotal doesn't have to be completely honest, or it doesn't have to be directly in your first person. You know, I heard about this company that, or my brother-in-law's company did, or it's the Ferris Bueller. My brother saw this girl who, you know, saw Ferris pass out at 31 flavors. Like, someone knows someone who did something. This is a great way to get your point across, is to tell a story, because you're not directly confronting someone or saying, you know, we need to get more young people in here, but it's saying, you know, I read this article the other day about how, you know, Gen Zs are helping develop policies, that kind of thing, you know.
Also,
So,
Shoshana Burgett did a presentation a couple of weeks ago called Rebranding for Brands, where she literally gave us, she's not a doctor, she doesn't play one on the internet, she wants me to caveat that, but she did a review about how humans have lizard brains and wizard brains. And in order to get people out of their lizard brain, which is just a kind of everything you know, or you make your own predictions based upon your past experience. And wizard brain is, oh, that's something new, that my brain is not just categorizing, and it literally stops your brain and it brings it to the forefront of your consciousness, and it makes it a strong point. And one of the things that does that is mirroring your customers, meaning that if you're serving a bunch of millennials, you better have a millennial talking to them to mirror their experience, to mirror their point of view, their vantage point, the way they speak, whatever it might be. It lets people immediately connect that you're one of us, and it's less. It helps the brain make decisions. It's actually a science thing, not just an opinion. Which was very interesting. So I would suggest everyone goes back and checks out all the replays are at girlswhoprint.net. I know we've mentioned it a few times, but it's just amazing that we get to pull upon all of this content that we've been hearing from all these people since April 24th, and it's all so relevant and also tied together as we still move forward and persevere on.
And to me, podcasts are a great way to access some of that information, because there's probably a million of them out there. So if you want to kind of listen to, who is your audience talking to each other, that would be a great place. I find I'm a more interesting person because of the podcasts I listen to. I'm obsessed with Malcolm Gladwell right now. He is blowing my mind every single day with some of the stuff he talks about on his podcast, but like, it makes my brain question everything. That the podcast is called Revisionist History, and so he's like, it's things that happened that were misunderstood or just plain wrong. It's really, really interesting. And I think too about the wizard brain as being wizard. It's almost like magical thinking. It's like, what if I put a magic wand in your hand? The what if questioning, that kind of thing is a very different way of thinking than, again, you're right, my experience, this is how I do it, lizard brain kind of thing. So that's really great.
It also, if you very quickly want to just get a tangible example of wizard brain and lizard brain, think about yourself looking through your mail in the mailbox, and you're like, flyer from the grocery store. I've seen it. Ooh, an envelope on a paper I've never touched before, and it's a color, it stops you dead in your tracks because your brain is processing it a different way. It's some new information that now needs a space in there, and because of that, you get the person's attention. So it's just really interesting that there's things that are all connected here. So the last thing's get social.
Most definitely. Well, and this,
Hi,
hi Shiloh. I had a LinkedIn consultant come onto a call of mine earlier in the summer, or actually it was the spring, and she told me that I was in LinkedIn witness protection, even having looked at my profile. And so I made some pretty significant changes to my profile. And I've advocated for everybody that I work with to do that too, to make sure it's real easy to get in touch with you, that it's very clear who you are, what you do, and who you do it for, that you have current endorsements, and that everything about your profile is the best possible digital version of you. And then that's just kind of the beginning point. I cannot tell you how many people are telling me that they're making friends on LinkedIn, that they're meeting people on LinkedIn, they're engaging with customers on LinkedIn, that kind of thing. So it is definitely a good thing to put into your daily routine, is spending some time there, meet people, get to know people, go in the groups. We are like 17 people short of 7,000 on Girls Who Print now.
It's 7.
It's 7 people. Okay.
It was 8 yesterday, but I think we have one more.
Okay, we are so close. And when I think about that, we were at 6,000 2 years ago or 3 years ago. That's just amazing growth. Like, that's really exciting.
You mean in the short amount of time? Like in this year, we grew almost 1,000. You mean?
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't want everyone to think it took us 4 years to grow 1,000 people.
No, you're right, because but to think of in 10 years.
Well, my LinkedIn group, my other LinkedIn group, Print Production Professionals, has grown over 6,000 people since the pandemic started. Yeah, it's out of control. It's completely out of control. And my podcast channel has just gone, it hit, this is my year of 100,000. So it hit over 100,000 downloads, but then since it did, there's another 4,000 on top of that, which is a lot. You know, I always say for Beyonce, it's a Tuesday, but it makes me the Beyonce of print, you know?
Yes, you are the Beyonce
I
of
am
print.
the Beyonce of print
You
on the
are.
podcast.
I had no idea how much time had gone by already. I can't believe it's already almost the top of the hour. I really hesitated whether to do do's and don'ts because I feel like that's super old and it's like Glamour magazine from the 1990s. But
Only you and I are laughing at that.
right, I know.
Oh, Christine Erna is silently laughing.
Don't wear those shoes with
Yeah.
that dress. But
Oh, I'm laughing.
I knew you were laughing.
she's laughing on the inside.
Laughing on the inside.
And so these are, I think, some of the more overarching pieces of advice and or observations that I make, and staying way more focused on the do ones than the don't ones. The pay attention part could not be more important. It is exactly as Deb said. I don't know why we don't get 2,000 people on print chat every week, because we literally are solving the problems of every vertical market that has had a problem since the pandemic.
We had really good ideas for hotels last week. If I was a hotel chain, I would have been like, "Damn it!"
You did it for hotels. You did it for Major League Baseball.
That was a good one.
That was a really good one. You did it for Black
Catalogs
Friday,
for Black Friday.
Retailers. I mean, I just don't understand how more printers or more people that are in that ecosystem don't.
They lurk, though. You should know that they lurk, because then what happens is I hear, oh yeah, no, we actually did that. We tried that. Someone was on a print chat, so they do steal our ideas.
Okay. I mean, one of the most gratifying things to me is when I'm working with some salespeople one-on-one, and I've got, this guy who's 65 years old. And when we get on the phone, he asks me to edit his emails. And so I always change his emails around, and every single time he writes me saying, "I love your changes." Because he gets a little patriarchal, he gets a little authoritative. And I said, you got to soften this up a little bit. You got to, and then when he says, "I tried what you said," and it, and I got some responses, those kinds of things are so gratifying. To get someone who's extremely set in their ways to try new things is really amazing to me,
including ourselves,
yes.
Kelly. I find myself checking myself being a creature of habit, of things I've been doing. And for example, I'm really trying to manage my time better. I get sucked into these Zoom situations, and then all of a sudden I realize I'm running a second shift at 5 o'clock at night. That's when I'm answering my emails. That's when I'm literally talking to people on the phone. I haven't talked to people I actually know in like weeks, because it's 9 o'clock by the time I get off the computer. So, understanding my own limitations now, I just started blocking off my calendar so people can't book calls.
You also promised you were going to take a day off, so please honor that.
I know, I haven't since this whole thing kicked off. I want to take a week off, honestly.
Yeah.
I was thinking, that was like, is Barbados still looking for people to live there? Because I might be ready. Okay, Kel, let's finish. I'm really sorry to interrupt you.
I mean, no, that's okay. But I want everybody to think about this too. The question why often to a lot of people feels confrontational, or like you're second guessing someone, or you're, kind of trying to argue, but why really does help you understand the basis of something. And in fact, there is a school of thought that you actually have to ask why like 6 times to go deeper into it. Why does that matter? Why is that important to you? Why did you choose to do that? And I'm not asking you why you chose to do it because I think it was stupid that you did it. I'm asking you why you did it because I want to know why you did it. I'm not challenging you. I'm just seeking to understand. And that coming from a place of seeking to understand is one of the most important places we can get to for just about anything. And that applies to your personal life too. But one of the things that Deb and I have talked about a lot during all of this is you cannot go to your customers and ask them how you can help them.
Oh.
You cannot. It has to be, I can.
I will banish you from the LinkedIn group.
I have ideas. And let's just, while we're banishing things, let's banish checking in and following up. Specifically that language. I immediately identify you as someone who is selling. It will immediately put that schema in their mind of, oh boy, here we go again. So use your words.
That goes back to lizard brain and wizard brain.
Yes.
Those types of phrases are lizard brain.
Yes.
Your brain assesses, up, that's a sales pitch coming to me. I'm turning off to it right now.
Yep.
You bring all of your knowledge about that phrase to the world, and just approaching somebody with something different can get their wizard brain attention.
Yeah, and again, the idea of trying something new. Again, the same gentleman who is just this open book of trying is having virtual lunch dates with his customers over Zoom. I'm so proud of him. He's actually even looking into like getting, using Postmates or one of those companies to have food delivered to his customer and
Oh, that's a
have
damn
lunch
good
together.
idea.
That
I'm stealing that one, yeah.
I've been saying, and I still need to look into this to see, I have to believe it's possible that you can electronically send a Starbucks card, that you don't have to physically send one, that you can like email.
You can. I think you can order them on Amazon almost.
So there you have it. The whole like, let's have a cup of coffee, and you email them a Starbucks card.
Lisa says it's possible with an exclamation point. So I'm
okay.
going with Lisa.
I'm believing in all of you. So number one, I want to thank you all very much for your attention, and just know that I'm all very grateful for the opportunity to talk. Deb, thank you, and thanks for all your participation. I don't know what the best way to wrap up is, but I know we're at the top of the hour. So.
Okay. I let me bring it home, Cal. What have we discussed? Perseverance. Even though there might not be a light at the end of the tunnel that we can necessarily see at this moment, courage is just keeping going even when every obstacle is being thrown at you, and you might not have an outcome. I mean, how do you measure success at the end of the year? For some of us, it's going to be, I'm still here. For others, it's going to be, I helped somebody achieve a goal. I was able to do something good for my community or for the world. Whatever it might be. I think that opening yourself up to different way of measuring what success is very important right now, and celebrating the victories along the way, whatever it is. The other day, I got through my to-do list and I was like, I'm going to give myself a high five, because unfortunately I'm one of those people stuck here by myself, which is why my cat's not talking to me anymore. But yeah, so you got to celebrate the little victories. And the last thing I just wanted to mention, besides the fact that all the replays for all of our fabulous programming is at girlswhoprint.net, is that Girls Who Print Day is coming up on October 22nd. We have not a full day, but 3/4 of a day of events, including our annual leadership panel and Girly Award presentation, which we will do virtual for the first time. Although technically we have done it virtual since 2014, because we always broadcasted it over the internet, even though we were live at a trade show. So if anybody, please visit. I stuck the link to the page in the chat. If you guys can just click over, that would be awesome. And also, because we're not associated with the trade show this year, we are actually able to have sponsors, and which I always call partners, because everybody has to do something in my world. If you're a sponsor, you just chip in and everybody else does something to you. When you're a partner, everybody participates. So if your companies want to be aligned with women in the print, maybe your vendors, any money coming in is there to pay for the podcasts and support the organization. So it would just, there's a proposal that's downloadable, so just check it out. It's only $500 US across the board. No, except everybody's the same thing. So if you want to support, we actually want printers to get involved. I mean, what a fantastic way to utilize the social channels of Print Media Center and Girls Who Print, and things that we have never opened up before. And so there's an opportunity there. And of course, it's all built upon the education and the networking and the camaraderie that that the group has afforded us all. So thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. You can connect with Kelly Malazzi, girl number, well, she's on one of those sides. Girl number two at Girls Who Print on LinkedIn. You can visit her website at successinprint.net. I'm Deborah Korn, girl number one at Girls Who Print from printmediacenter.com. And I just want to thank everybody again for joining us. Empower, long, and prosper, everybody. You too, Shyla.
Have a great weekend.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.